Growing up in the Wilson family meant one thing: money was everything. Your worth wasn't measured by your character or achievements, but by the number of zeros in your bank account. I learned this lesson early, watching my older brother Marcus parade around in designer suits while I worked part-time jobs through college. Even in elementary school, the difference was stark. Marcus got the latest gaming consoles, brand new bikes, and lavish birthday parties with hired entertainers. My birthdays were afterthoughts, usually celebrated with a grocery store cake, if they remembered at all. "We're teaching Michael the value of money," my mother would tell relatives, but what she really meant was that I wasn't worth the investment. Our parents never hid their preferences. Marcus was the golden child, the Harvard business graduate who landed a cushy executive position right out of college. Meanwhile, I was the disappointment who chose to start from the bottom, learning real estate from the ground up. I still remember my high school graduation. While Marcus had gotten a brand new BMW for his, I received a firm handshake and a lecture about fiscal responsibility. "Michael's just not ambitious enough." My mother would sigh at family gatherings as if I wasn't sitting right there. "He insists on doing everything the hard way." The hard way meant refusing their connections, their money, their influence. I wanted to build something on my own terms, even if it meant starting with nothing. I took a job as a maintenance worker at an apartment complex, learning the ins and outs of property management while taking night classes in real estate and finance. My family saw it as beneath them. At Sunday dinners, Marcus would regale everyone with stories about his latest business deals, while I sat quietly, absorbing everything I could about market trends and investment strategies. "Look at your brother," Dad would say, pointing his fork at Marcus. "That's what success looks like." What they didn't know was that I was building something too. Every paycheck, every bonus, every penny I could spare went into my education and my first small investments. I started with a rundown duplex in a developing neighborhood. While Marcus bought designer watches, I bought power tools and learned to renovate properties myself. For years, I worked in silence. While Marcus climbed the corporate ladder at prestigious firms, I studied market trends, analyzed property values, and slowly built my portfolio. No one in my family knew about the properties I was acquiring through my company, Horizon Investments. They were too busy celebrating Marcus's latest bonus or promotion to notice. The contrast in our lifestyles couldn't have been more dramatic. Marcus lived in a luxury high-rise apartment, drove an imported sports car, and wore suits that cost more than my first property down payment. I lived modestly in one of my renovated units, drove my reliable Toyota, and reinvested every dollar I could into growing my business. Then came the financial crisis of 2023. The real estate market buckled, and suddenly, those prestigious firms weren't so stable anymore. Marcus's investments started crumbling, but his lifestyle didn't change. Designer suits, luxury cars, exclusive clubs, he kept spending like the money would never run out. I saw the signs early. Working in real estate from the ground up had taught me to recognize market patterns. I tried to warn my family about the impending crash, but Marcus laughed it off. "What would you know about high finance?" he scoffed. "You're just a small-time landlord." My parents weren't any better. Their retirement fund was tied up in high-risk investments that Marcus had recommended. When those investments tanked, they started borrowing against their house, the same house where I'd grown up. The same house they refused to let me help protect when I'd warned them about the market's instability. I watched silently as they mortgaged their future, too proud to admit they needed help. Every family dinner became a performance, with everyone pretending everything was fine while the bills piled up. Marcus still showed up in expensive cars, but I noticed they changed more frequently, leases rather than purchases now. Meanwhile, Horizon Investments was thriving. I had positioned my portfolio conservatively, focusing on stable, long-term investments rather than quick profits. When the market crashed, I was ready. While others were selling in panic, I was buying, expanding my holdings at discount prices. Sarah, my chief operations officer, had been with me since the beginning. She started as my property manager when I had just 3 units. Now she helped me manage a portfolio worth billions, though my family still thought she was just my assistant. "Your family still doesn't know, do they?" she asked one day, reviewing our latest acquisition reports. "They never asked," I replied simply, and they hadn't. Not once in 10 years had anyone in my family shown genuine interest in my business. They were too busy maintaining appearances, pretending their world wasn't crumbling around them. Tonight's dinner was different. I knew something they didn't. I had just acquired their mortgage through one of my subsidiary companies. The paperwork had been finalized that afternoon. But they were about to mock me one last time. Michael. Marcus's voice boomed across our parents' dining room. He was wearing a new suit, probably another expense he couldn't afford. Still driving that old Toyota. Some things never change, huh? I took my usual seat at the far end of the table, where the less successful family members were relegated. My mother busied herself with the table settings, barely acknowledging my presence. The dining room still looked impressive, but I noticed the small signs of decline. Worn carpet, faded wallpaper, tiny repairs left undone. How's that little real estate venture of yours? Marcus continued, swirling his expensive wine. I recognized the bottle. A $500 vintage that he probably charged to a nearly maxed out credit card. Still living paycheck to paycheck. Our father chuckled, pride evident in his eyes as he looked at Marcus. Not everyone can be a financial genius, son. Some people just aren't cut out for success. I checked my watch. 7:30 p.m. Right on schedule. Actually, I said quietly, business is going quite well. Marcus snorted. Well? What's your definition of well? Finally saved up enough for a down payment on a condo. The doorbell rang. My mother frowned, her carefully maintained facade cracking slightly. Who could that be at this hour? That would be my assistant, I said, standing up. Shall I get the door? Before anyone could respond, I walked to the front door and opened it. Sarah stood there in a crisp business suit, holding a leather portfolio. She had been with me through every step of building Horizon Investments, from our first small acquisition to our latest billion-dollar deal. Right on time, I smiled, leading her to the dining room. The confusion on my family's faces was palpable. Marcus's fork stopped halfway to his mouth, the expensive wine forgotten. Mr. Wilson, Sarah said professionally, here's the deed to your family's house. You own it all now. The transfer was completed this afternoon. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's wine glass slipped from her fingers, spilling red across the white tablecloth. Marcus's face had lost all color, his carefully maintained mask of success cracking. What is this? My father demanded, his voice shaking. What's going on? I took the portfolio from Sarah and opened it slowly. Remember when I said I was doing well? Horizon Investments, my little real estate venture, now owns over $2 billion in properties across the state, including this house. Marcus jumped to his feet, his chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. You're lying. There's no way. Sarah stood quietly by the door, watching the scene unfold. She had seen this coming for years, watching as I built my company while my family remained blind to my success. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a napkin, her expensive makeup smearing. Michael, honey, if you needed to prove something to us, there were better ways. We're family. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Prove something. Mom, I bought this house to save it. Your mortgage is 3 months behind. The bank was about to foreclose. Did Marcus tell you that when he was bragging about his latest deal? The color drained from my father's face. That's impossible. Marcus assured us his investment strategy would. Would what? I cut in. Cover the massive debt you've accumulated? Pay for the lifestyle you couldn't afford? Marcus has been lying to you for months. Show them, Sarah. Sarah opened her tablet, projecting financial statements onto the dining room wall. Past due notices, foreclosure warnings, and bank records filled the screen. Marcus slammed his fist on the table, making the silverware jump. Shut up. You don't know anything about business. You're just jealous because. Because what? I stood up slowly, meeting his eyes. Because I built something real while you play pretend executive with other people's money? Your firm is investigating you for fraud, Marcus. Did you tell Mom and Dad about that? The silence that followed was absolute. My mother's quiet sobs were the only sound in the room. How did you? Marcus whispered, his arrogance finally cracking. I own the building your firm leases, I said quietly. I know everything. The unauthorized trades, the forged documents, the missing client funds. It's all coming out next week. My father grabbed Marcus's arm, his knuckles white. Is this true? Tell me he's lying. But Marcus couldn't speak. He just stood there, swaying slightly, his perfect world crumbling around him. Mr. Wilson. Sarah stepped forward, opening another file on her tablet. Would you like me to show them the full extent of Horizon's holdings? The properties, the investments, the acquisitions? I nodded, and Sarah began displaying more images. High-rise buildings in downtown, sprawling commercial complexes, luxury residential developments, all bearing the subtle Horizon logo. Properties worth billions, built from the ground up while my family was too busy mocking my little venture. This is what I've built over the past 10 years, I said, watching their faces as reality sank in. While you were laughing at my Toyota and my modest clothes, I was creating something sustainable, something real. My mother reached across the table, trying to take my hand. Her diamond bracelet, a gift from Marcus last Christmas, sparkled in the light. Sweetheart, we had no idea. Why didn't you tell us? I pulled my hand away gently. Would you have believed me? Or would you have dismissed it like everything else I've ever done? But we're family, she pleaded. Surely that means something. Family? I stood up, straightening my jacket. Was I family when you excluded me from holiday photos because my clothes weren't expensive enough? Was I family when you skipped my college graduation because Marcus had a golf tournament? My father's voice was barely a whisper. Son, we were wrong. We see that now. Now? I laughed bitterly. Now that you know I am the roof over your head? Now that you realize your golden child is about to be indicted for fraud? That's not family, Dad. That's survival. Sarah cleared her throat softly. Sir, we have the other meeting in 20 minutes. I nodded, picking up my keys. The same keys they had mocked me for, attached to a simple keychain rather than a designer fob. The house is yours to stay in, for now. I'm not cruel enough to evict my own parents, but things are going to change. Marcus, who had been silent for several minutes, suddenly lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You can't do this to me. I'm your brother. You have to help me. No, Marcus, I said calmly, stepping away from his grasp. You're the man who spent years making sure I felt worthless. Actions have consequences. Let's see how you handle starting from nothing, really nothing, not the kind of nothing where Dad still pays your credit card bills. As I turned to leave, my mother's voice stopped me. Michael, please, what happens now? I paused at the doorway, looking back at the dining room table where so many dinners had been spent feeling invisible. Now you get to experience what I did. Starting from nothing, building something real. Maybe then you'll understand the value of hard work over appearance. Sarah followed me out, closing the door behind us. In my car, I finally let out a shaky breath. The weight of years of dismissal and mockery lifting from my shoulders. Are you all right? Sarah asked quietly. I started the engine, watching the lights go on in my parents' house. My house now. I will be. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about hurting people. It's about showing them exactly who you've become while they weren't paying attention. The next few weeks were a blur of headlines and family drama. Marcus's fraud was exposed, leading to his arrest and the collapse of his carefully constructed facade. The luxury cars disappeared, replaced by court appearances and lawyer meetings. His designer suits gave way to prison orange. My parents, faced with the truth about their golden child, retreated into a shell of denial and regret. The country club membership lapsed, the social circle evaporated, and reality finally set in. They had invested everything, money, pride, love, in the wrong son. I maintained my distance, focusing on expanding Horizon investments. Our latest project, a sustainable housing development, was gaining national attention. Success, real success, wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about proving yourself right. The local business journal ran a feature on me, The Silent Titan, how Michael Wilson built a real estate empire. The photo showed me in front of my old Toyota, now parked beside my office building as a reminder of where I started. My mother tried to send me designer suits after seeing it. I donated them to a charity helping job seekers. 3 months after that fateful dinner, I received a letter from my mother. Inside was a photo I'd never seen before. Me at my college graduation, standing alone in my cap and gown. They had taken it from afar, too busy with Marcus's tournament to attend properly. We were wrong, the note read. Not just about your success, but about everything. The son we dismissed turned out to be the one who saved us all. The one who built something real while we chased appearances. I placed the photo in my desk drawer, next to the first dollar I'd earned in real estate. It wasn't about forgiveness. Some wounds run too deep for that. It was about recognition, about finally being seen for who I was, not who they wanted me to be. Today, Horizon Investments is valued at over $5 billion. My parents still live in their house, now attending every company event, proudly telling anyone who'll listen about their successful son in real estate. They've learned to appreciate the Toyota in the driveway and the value of honest work. Marcus serves his time, writing letters about redemption and second chances. I read them sometimes between signing deals and planning new developments. His latest note mentioned how he finally understands what real success looks like, not the facade he built, but the solid foundation I created. And me? I keep building not for revenge or recognition, but because it's what I love. The kid they called poor now owns half the city, but more importantly, I own my story. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The family dinners continue, but they're different now. No more mockery, no more dismissal. Just quiet respect and the lingering taste of karma served at exactly the right temperature. Sometimes my mother tries to apologize for the past, but I stop her. The past made me who I am, someone who understands that true worth isn't measured in designer labels or luxury cars. Sometimes when I pass by my old Toyota, which I keep parked in front of my office building, I smile, remembering Marcus's sneers. It's not about the car you drive or the clothes you wear. It's about building something that lasts, something real. And that's worth more than all the designer suits in the world.